not only a personal friend of ours of many years, she's a very well-known and respected strategist, copywriter in Australia, and has worked all over the world. And I think you're going to learn an exceptional amount from Linda this afternoon. We still have a couple of more speakers coming up, and to those of you that are still in the run to speak to us, please bear with us for the time that we've taken. Linda, you're off.
Thank you. The first time to Mumbai, and also for this very landmark event that you're having here, so thank you for having me. And what I'm going to be talking about is sharing a bit of some of the best, the most exciting, legendary, creative cross-channel marketing that is going on around the world today. But let me first start with just a little bit of a story. One of my own more legendary creative efforts, and as much as I hate to admit it, that, yes, is me. And I was once invited to a Halloween party, a costume party, and I happened to see this yellow fuzzy fabric in a store, and the light bulb went off. And I said, oh, this is creative. And I created one of the things I was most ever proud of, which is famous among my friends as the legendary chicken suit. And the chicken suit was a creative masterpiece. It was also a tactical triumph, I must say, because I put a lot of detail into it, like including a drinking straw in the beak so that I could have cocktails while I was at the party, and feet that I made out of three pairs of socks. So I was very proud of my creativity, and it was a creative triumph. It was a strategic disaster. Now, what I neglected to think about, first of all, was my objective. See, this was a singles Halloween party, and I was going on my own with the hopes, perhaps, of not ending up that way. And I neglected to think about my target audience and what was in his mind when he was going to this party. What was he looking for? Well, I don't think it was the chicken. In fact, it was something more akin to what I found when I walked into the ballroom, which was a bunch of women dressed in very sexy costumes, showing off their attributes, and frankly, the chicken didn't stand a chance. I got one dance with a guy in a gorilla suit, and that was it. So that's the closest I came to my objective, and it was a very important life lesson, also an important marketing lesson. We are living in wildly seductive times with a lot of sexy, creative new things that we can do, and we have to be careful not to get seduced by cleverness for cleverness' sake. It's what I call now chicken suit creativity. What it's about is creativity that gets results. That's what direct marketing is about, and that's what I want to talk about today. And in honor of the first ever, last night, awards that recognize truly integrated multi-channel performance-driven marketing, it seemed like a wonderful opportunity to look at what's rising to the top in multi-channel marketing around the world today. And the way I did it was to take a look at the rewards that honor companies and campaigns and marketing efforts that get results. So that included looking at last year's winners for the Echoes, and also for the little tetrahedron thing is our ADMA Awards, our Australian Direct Marketing Awards. And I also looked at, I don't know if you've looked at some of the Cannes Lions that came out of the festival a couple of weeks ago in creativity, found some wonderful examples there. And I was looking for inspiration and ideas, and boy, did I find a lot of them. What I tried to screen these for was efforts that were both inspired and effective. And I looked for creativity in the choice and the interplay of channels. I looked for cases where the channel strategy really was central to the success of the endeavor, and finally, where there are measurable business results. So today, I want to share in kind of a lightning fast round with you the three forces at work I noticed that were driving a lot of what was going on there. 11, what I've called kind of emerging truths, some common threads I found running through it, and I whacked 19 examples in here to get through in 30 minutes. We may or may not get through all 11 and 19, but I want to give you it's not a how-to, it's a very fast soupçon of ideas that inspired me and I hope will inspire you as well. Those three forces at work I talked about, well, the first, we've been talking about this a lot. No presentation worth its salt will not mention that the channel landscape has changed enormously. What I think is interesting is what that means and what it says to direct marketers. In a way, we used to think a bit about the media or the channel landscape as on that left-hand side on a range from media channels that are very personal and targeted and produce a dialogue to all the way up in the top where the engagement is very minimal, impersonal, untargeted monologue. And on the other axis, in terms of reach, the kind of channels that can reach few, all the way to the ones that can reach many. And in the old world, advertising tended, this is very simplistic, but advertising tended to cluster in that upper right-hand quadrant with broad mass media, and direct marketing medium tends to cluster in the lower half, in the lower left, and direct response when it was used in broad-scale media fell somewhere in between. And again, it's very simplistic, but what is interesting is what's happened with this digital channel explosion, and that is that interactivity has become ubiquitous. And we've created almost a whole new quadrant, and the emergence of what I call mass one-to-one. We have the ability now to have conversations, personal, targeted dialogue, on a scale that we kind of only dreamed about as direct marketers, and something we as direct marketers really dreamed about. So it's kind of direct marketing heaven. The second key trend is that I'm seeing more and more marketers recognize that channel strategy is not a mix. It is a process. And what I mean by that is this. With channels we can use to reach that audience. Where in fact, what we're trying to do today is a cross-channel process, but also our own media, our websites, with one person, the billboards on the side of our buildings, and earned media, PR, viral, and all those things that we get without actually buying media. Now, none of those three are new. But I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, which is more and more marketers beginning to plan across that entire ecosystem, not always just starting with what media do we buy. So all of these changes, and people have been talking about this a bit, throw up a lot of big, complex challenges in terms of what's the right technology, how do you plan the right channel mix, how do you attribute your results to which channels, how do you optimize the channel mix. And I'm not going to talk about any of those today because they're too hard. What I want to talk about is something that's simpler, and that's the ideas at the heart of cross-channel marketing, the creativity that drives innovation and results. And again, it isn't a how-to, but it's inspiration for your own thinking, and maybe some ideas you can steal as well. So let me talk about those 11 emerging threads that I saw by showing you a heap of examples very quickly of campaigns that came to the top in these awards programs. And the first of those is, whether we like it or not, everything today is cross-channel. And it's almost impossible, you would know this, not to do a campaign in only one channel. And it's not least of which is because whether you want to plan multi-channel campaigns or not, your customers are going to be there. They expect, they demand it. If they hear about you in print, they're going to want to look you up on the web or Facebook. If they buy from you in the store, they expect today to be able to shop online too. So whether you plan for it or not, they're crossing channels all the time, and you need to be there. And you are. It's so much more powerful. And the first example I'll show, I'm pleased to say, is one from here, from India, from Birla Sun Life and MNC Sachi, who won a few awards last night, too, I might applaud. And this was a campaign that won an ECHO Award in last year's international competition for their child plans, which are designed to help parents finance children's education. The core of the program was something that's a very traditional direct marketing approach, a dimensional pack, some real high impact, that was sent to super high net worth parents. And that was a contemporary, I think I pronounced it right, Anaprasan kit, built around the Hindu ritual for predicting the future of your child's future. That was a very beautiful, powerful pack on its own, but what gave it extraordinary life was that the response mechanism and the link, the cross-channel link, was to a website called Not Jobs But Passion, which was an interactive tool for exploring children's careers options. And if you have a chance to look at it, it's a wonderful and very involving, evocative site. And of course, that led to the financial planning for the child's future, and the products to help finance it. And this program did some hard sales in terms of the policies. So, an interesting example of how a conventional approach can get great power with the addition of a cross-channel element. And of course, I've said if everything is cross-channel, then I'm going to echo something Jody said yesterday, which is everything is kind of, these days, direct marketing. Now, I'm a direct marketer, so of course I'm going to say that, and there are people who might disagree with me. But what, after all, is direct marketing? We've heard a number of definitions. I always had a little checklist, and somehow it still holds true today. Direct marketing is something that is a one-to-one communication in any channel. It is not a monologue, not me talking to you, it's two-way. It generates a measurable response, and data is at its heart. And sometimes, some really wonderful stuff is working longitudinally to build and manage relationships. Now, what I've seen throughout these awards, and what I think we're all seeing today, is that a lot of marketing efforts and campaigns that once would have been squarely just advertising or sales promotion are now embracing direct marketing techniques as a matter of course. And a prime example was this winner, which was from our Australian Direct Marketing Association Awards, and it was the launch of a new flavor of chewing gum. It happened to be a movie-themed gum that was done in partnership with 20th Century Fox, 5X Mutant Gum. And the channels that were launched to use it was a combination of conventional advertising and really interesting direct, because they use TV, they use cinema, they use digital outdoor, and where it really started getting direct was when they overlaid the rich banners, site skins, Facebook, and then point of sale, but point of sale with unique digital codes to register your purchase online, and then an interactive website that allowed you to create your own mutant and battle others. The results of that, well, another interesting point is we're beginning to see marketing objectives and results built around engagement. So they had huge results in terms of engagement, site visits, Facebook fans, mutants created, 43,000 of them running around Australia now, battles, visitors returned 50 times. But where it gets really exciting is where that then tracks into sales. 16,000 point of sale codes were entered, with one fan buying 179 packs, and a really impressive 25% market share growth. Now, is that direct marketing? Well, we say if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it ticks almost all of those boxes. And I don't know if they're using the data generated from this to drive more relationship, but it's a terrific illustration of how campaigns that once would not have been direct marketing truly are direct marketing today. Now, this is not happening without some resistance. And it was fascinating to see just last week in Australia's marketing magazine, they had a little poll, and they asked marketing magazine readers, do you believe the trend in consumer brand advertising has moved too far toward direct response at the expense of building brand equity? 44% of marketers reading the magazine said yes. And that's a little scary to me. How can engagement with your customer reduce brand equity? I was one of the 24% who said no at the bottom, of course. Another truth is that this new environment is creating a new starting point for big ideas. And there's a case in point with a campaign that took out the top awards in Australia this year for the National Australia Bank. It's called the Breakup campaign. It also just won a Lion at Cannes. And I'll let them tell you about it.
started on Friday with what looked like an accidental tweet from a NAB employee. It read, "So stressed out, had to make a tough decision, and I know I'll probably hurt someone's feeling."
Well, no one likes to receive a Dear John letter announcing a breakup, especially when it's published in the papers for the world to see.
I can't be around you anymore. Enjoy your ride. Yeah, right.
Nowhere was safe from the blitz by the newly single NAB. NAB's launching a full-scale attack on its competitors.
There was even a piano man singing broken love songs outside the ANZ headquarters.
The Sky, the Street and the Net were all bombarded with messages of breakups.
This is the biggest thing we've seen in banking for a long, long time.
Yours sincerely, NAB.
Very different campaign for a bank. Very different starting point for a campaign. It was creating an experience as the starting point, starting with earned media. They called it everything shareable and news. And the results got them extraordinary exposure and engagement. You saw it, plus hard direct marketing results. They also said they got 260,000 new customers out of it. Another truth is that marketers today are having a love affair with co-creation, with involving your customer in the creation of everything from your content to your ads to your product. And I saw example after example in the awards. In Australia, Heinz asked customers to share what Heinz beans meant to them and made new Heinz cans out of it. In Colombia, interesting campaign for a paint company who wanted to build a database of professional painters and used a supermodel as the focus of the campaign, offered them a chance to win the chance to paint the supermodel's house, and asked them to leave a phone message for a supermodel, which those phone messages then turned into more radio commercials. In Denmark, a security company set up a website so you could tell them about your possessions and what you value most, and then they created a personalized movie, as well as a follow-up sales kit, about dramatizing your own break-in. And in another one in Australia, we actually saw the creation of a crowdsourced car where a company that was trying to reach, muscle car men owners got them to vote weekly to determine what modifications would be made to that custom kick-ass car as it was built. So co-creation has become a marvelous tactic, but the caution, of course, is, like any new technique, it's not the answer to everything. And I'm sure you have seen many lame co-creation campaigns, too. Your customers have to want to co-create, and you have to have something rich to build that around. Another point that I want to make with all this new stuff is that this doesn't get rid of traditional direct marketing. The classic direct marketing models still rock and win award recognition. Another one from India was from American Express that won an Echo. A classic platinum, it was for Platinum Card, it was a classic dimensional kit with a series of communications around it. It started with a personalized letter from the country manager, then a personalized phone call to set an appointment, then hand-delivered a beautiful pack with terrific results, a net 22% conversion. So the classic models still do work, but digital can make them work even harder. And this is a campaign that I did in Australia for Tennis Australia and the Australian Open, where we were promoting corporate hospitality packages for the Australian Open. And it started with the traditional approach with a direct mail pack, but it was powered up with the use of personalized URLs, pearls. I don't know if you're using personalized URLs much, but conventional wisdom says it can increase your response rates 50 to 100%. I had terrific success with this. We had a personalized replica of a pass for the event that had your own personalized website as the call to action. Plus, then that website became the hub for a 3-month dialogue with a lot of follow-up. Again, we got terrific results to this, response rates to it, and traceable sales as well. Number 7, we do have a lot of new channels, and we're seeing them used in whole new ways with new possibilities. Creative marketers are taking wonderful advantage. In the Netherlands, IBM launched a company challenge. They wanted to reach the mid-sized market that they were having trouble getting into, and they did the first ever in the Netherlands 100% on LinkedIn campaign. And they did it in a standalone partnership. It had a mini site, used interactive video. They gave people the options to either enter the challenge or vote on the challenges. It got them automatic exposure in participant status updates, and a terrific result with a lot of visitors, detailed cases entered and competed, and a 13% increase in their segment market share on what was really a tiny budget. Another fabulous use of a new medium, in Germany, Lufthansa wanted to get more members for their miles and more loyalty program. They did an installation in the Frankfurt airport, and that big thing you see is a giant QR code made up of 1,400 miles and more cards, which of course then linked to a website with an online movie that gave you a guided tour of what was behind the card and why you should be a member. They got 80,000 video views and 12,000 new members out of it. Beyond new channels, I would say that I found some examples in the awards of very legendary creative people creating their own channels. A fabulous example of that came from New Zealand, where the city of New Zealand wanted to get itself tarted up for the world coming in for the rugby tournament, and they had a problem. They had illegal disposal of rubbish by a lot of businesses in the CBD. What I loved about this was the inventiveness. They used direct mail, but they used it and also sent out 100,000 garbage bags printed to look like hedges that then became their own medium when they were put out on the street. They also took illegal dumping spots, turned them into flower beds, and did a Beautify Your City logo planted in moss in strategic locations, totally new channels. And the bottom line was they reduced illegal dumping by 78%. We used to say the medium is the message. There are some wonderful examples here of how the channel itself becomes the idea. These winners really stood out because the idea was inextricably bound to the unique characteristics of the digital channel that they were using. For the Defence Force in Australia, who wanted to fill 30 vacant IT and communications positions in the Air Force, the people doing this had a key insight. They realized the people they wanted to get, these IT people, are kind of into games, they love looking behind things, and they love showing off what they know. So they did a banner ad, but the details weren't in the ad. The details were in the source code behind the ad, and only the wonks they wanted would go behind that, see the ad, and apply. And they got a 97% increase in job inquiries and filled all their positions at a fabulously lower cost than they ever had before. Let's get this one up. Takes a big idea and makes it oh so much bigger. And I don't know if you've heard of this campaign in the US, IBM's Watson campaign. Has anybody ever heard of it? No? Yes, a few. It won the top Echo in the US last year, and it's a breakthrough product. IBM Watson is a computer that understands human language. So they had a breakthrough idea to promote it. They gave it the ultimate challenge, and that was to compete with humans on the game show Jeopardy. Jeopardy is a game show, which I don't know if you're familiar with it, which is based on wordplay and the subtlety of human language and the complexity of human language. They ran a 3-night tournament against 2 past champions. And the channels they used were massive. It was a media onslaught with branded videos that made up 20% of the broadcast, TV, a custom-built site, documentaries, posts, lots of stuff going on. But the real pointy end of it was that they didn't just use this for big media. They leveraged it to drive demand and lead generation. So they had original content and bundled offers and had a lot of selling activity around it, white papers, a 3-touch email and phone communication with site registrants, and a whole lot of other things going on. The results to this were absolutely amazing. They created a cultural phenomenon. It was the second most watched show on TV that week. 70% of the US population were aware of the event. And that lots of impressions, but it was also a business bonanza. Could have been a banana. The traffic to the IBM site went up massively. They hosted clients. They got 500 leads worth $100 to $200 million and 20 to 30 million attributed revenue. So big ideas become bigger if they're leveraged correctly all the way through. One thing I do want to say, however, is number 11, you don't have to be big to be a legend. We would all love to work on IBM Watson campaigns. I don't know if any of you here are working on wonderfully massive things, and sometimes in our careers we get to do that. But it can sometimes be off-putting to think that it's that big stuff that works. In fact, there's a tremendous number of examples of great campaigns, small stuff on a small scale that does amazing things. An example from Austria, very small but very powerful. Land Rover wanted to get some mileage out of one of their competitors' auto shows. Volkswagen was running a show for Volkswagen brands only. And what these guys did was hijack it. They discovered that nobody was offering free Wi-Fi at the show, so they offered free Wi-Fi. Then they sent a Wi-Fi message offering a free Land Rover test drive if you left and went outside the show. And a web app delivered the details and captured the test drive registrations. So a very tiny, smart, targeted, and winning effort got them small in numbers, but terrific, terrific results. And that's a wonderful use of mobile technology, but it doesn't have to be high-tech either. And let me just share one that will never win an award, because it isn't high-tech or exciting. But this was, again, one I did for one of my clients to sell savings plans. And all it was a personal direct mail pack, a letter, and a telephone follow-up. And it did an amazing job for them, pulled twice as well as they or we ever expected, and showed again that even the smallest, smartest mix of channels can produce results. We've covered some ground. What I would say is this is scratching the surface. These are hardly the only 3 forces. A lot more things emerge from the awards. And it's only the beginning. It's changed, as we know, it's changing so fast. The choices are evolving so quickly, so that what you see as cross-channel and multi-channel next year will be even more exciting. But for all of this, and it's a crazy, mad, fast-morphing world, some things continue to hold true. And what I've found, particularly in the last 5 years or so, as everything has changed so much, is the fundamentals that we learn as direct marketers are more relevant than ever. The tactics and the choices may change, but direct marketers can actually be real legends in this new world. You, as direct marketers, are grounded in that concept of marketing as a process. You've managed dialogue and complex relationships for a long time. You're adept at managing those. And direct marketers were also the originators of relationship marketing and management. We are steeped in data and analytics. We are masters of something that is critical to the future of the entire marketing endeavor, which is testing, and we used to call it testing, now we call it optimization, but it's test and learn and progressive improvement. We can do more there today than we've ever been, and direct marketers are the ones who know how to do it. And we are obsessive about measurable response and results, which serves all of you well in the world we're living in. We are also, I like to think, and as a lot of case history's evidence, very creative, but not in that chicken suit creative way, in the way that is right, that is focused on objectives, and gets legendary results. So I hope you found some inspiration and perhaps even some stealable ideas in some of the cases I showed you today. There were a few we didn't have time for, and I've got lots more. So if there's any you'd like to look at or talk more about, just give a holler. I'll be around. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Linda. You didn't disappoint us. I thought that there was some brilliant stuff.